Hello and welcome to the Sportscast podcast. Today we're going to have a look back at the week's football, an exciting weekend of semi-final of the Rugby World Cup, the Austin, Texas Grand Prix, the qualifying, the sprint race, and a little look at the Cricket World Cup with some other topical content.
Liam, hello.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you.
Good. Have you dried out from Friday? Storm Badet.
Is that what it was called? I never knew what it was called.
Storm Badet or something like that. But it sounds like. But I can't remember. It was a terrible name. It was a terrible Friday. I didn't enjoy it whatsoever.
No, I think most of the UK was sort of quite heavily affected. Not too much of the sport, not as much as the sport as I probably initially anticipated was affected.
No, I mean there wasn't any football on anyway. But I mean all of the all 8 Premier League games went ahead on Saturday, and it was only really
I think there was one game in League Two, and everything else was lower level.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, exactly. It was lower level, so there was a few. I was keeping up to date with the Mail Online, and just to see which games, if any, were going to be cancelled. I know Newcastle and Brentford, was it, or Luton? No, Nottingham. Sorry, that was coming to question, but it was all low leagues.
Rotherham Ipswich Friday night. But obviously I've been to the Rotherham Stadium a couple of times, and it is up against the River Don, and the River Don did burst, so that was always going to be a casualty.
Yeah, definitely. And I know they've had really heavy rain in like the Midlands, but it affected, like you say, non-league teams. So
yeah,
pretty decent weekend, pretty decent Saturday and Sunday of football. If you want to start there.
Yeah, I mean it started probably early on in the week. England played Italy in the Nations League, beat them 3-1 quite convincingly as well. Probably not Italy's coming off the Euro win. Since then, they've not really been the team. They didn't qualify for the World Cup, and they've probably not been the team they were. But
yeah, well, they've got a new manager in, so the manager had only been in the job around 40 days or something like that.
Yeah,
and he brought a couple of new talents, not debuts, but a couple of young guys, and I think one of them got a yellow card within 9 minutes or something like that, and then the other one gave away the penalty or something like that. So they've got some work to do, haven't they?
Yeah, they lost a couple of the main players due to the betting scandal and stuff, but it's who knows. And then Sir Ratcliffe has got his 25% stake in Man United.
Yes, he has. That is absolutely correct. It makes him the second richest Premier League owner, if you like. I know he's not sort of like a full owner, but he's behind the guy that owns Newcastle.
Hope he's trying to take that as a full stake sooner or later. He's got 25%. The Glazers, what they've done to the club. So hopefully he sort of over time increases that stake and takes sort of full control. But on the pitch, they did pretty well. They 2-1 away win at Sheffield United. Scott McTominay again, he's absolutely on fire. But I think the big games really, Liverpool-Everton at Anfield, Liverpool winning 2-0.
Yeah.
Ashley Young got a dubious sort of yellow card, sort of second yellow, and I seen an interview with Jurgen Klopp, and the reporter sort of says, a lot of people didn't think the Everton yellow card was a yellow card, so because people don't agree with that decision, do you think the game should be replayed? Obviously, in jest to his Tottenham goal that got disallowed when he was saying it should be replayed, and he just sort of kind of goes, "What kind of question is that?" And it's like, well, you can't give it and then not expect when it goes the other way for you to not. You've got to be expected to take it.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, the kind of the difference is there that it was clearly Stonewall, like VAR got it wrong.
Yeah. As opposed to a matter of opinion, that's the difference. Chelsea Arsenal, good game. Chelsea 2-up. Arsenal an opportunity there to go top of the league and put a couple of points between them and City, but they pulled it back to 2-2.
They did. Really, really crucial point for, 1 point. I know it's 1 point, but they could have had 3 for Chelsea. And I mean, they're sat 11th, and I know we've discussed they've spent so much money over the past few years, and they are on a really, really poor form at the moment. So really big opportunity, and they've thrown it away. I think from the 80th minute or something like that.
Yeah,
really late on in the game.
They're doing better. Pochettino will get them. I think they'll push for Europa League this year, and I think that's what Pochettino will get out of them. A couple of the players that maybe sort of didn't get a look in before, they spent big money on, are starting to get a bit of game time and things. So I think they'll come good.
Yeah, and obviously the biggest news out of football of the week, in my opinion, is the sad passing of Sir Bobby Charlton.
Yeah, last night. That I mean, he was into his 80s, wasn't he? And he'd not been a very well man, but for English football, he's probably one of the last remaining greats, really.
Yeah, definitely. So England, he played for England from 1958. I had 1958 to 1970, 106 appearances, 49 goals, which is a strike rate of roughly 45%.
Yeah, one every other game.
And then, not by Hurricane standards, Hurricanes are via. Manchester United. So played for Wakefield, played for Waterford, Waterford, not Watford. Played for Waterford, then played for Preston. And then from 1956, Manchester United made 606 appearances.
That's plus his United England games and his sort of Preston. He's had 750, 800 games in his career. It's incredible. You don't get people, I know Messi and Ronaldo have done it, but other people that retire out. I think the highest appearance for the most appearances in the Premier League for a goalkeeper, I think it was David James. It might have been broken recently, but you're looking at like 505 or something.
Yeah.
I think it's Gareth Barry's got the most as a player at like 550.
Oh,
so.
And I think because I think he was one of the Busby Babes. If you with the Munich air disaster, because that was 1958, and he started playing for Manchester United in 1956. So
again, he will have been
quite a significant kind of moment.
Yeah,
he's passed. So,
shall we leave football on that positive note of Charlton?
Yes,
and then should we start really quickly and rip the band-aid off of the England-South Africa semi-final last night?
Yeah, so I'm not super into rugby. I'm not as into rugby as I'm into football. Obviously, when England lost in the Euros final, obviously that was crushing. I know you're a Wales fan, so you were probably over the moon. But I think you could agree just as much as I can kind of like wave the flag of England that South Africa were not firing on all cylinders last night, and not only that, they were extremely lucky to nick a point. Sorry, not the point, but they were extremely lucky to get the penalty kind of in the 78th minute and to knock England out.
I think, and the whole coming from a Welshman kind of view, but England had an opportunity yesterday that I didn't think they were going to have.
Not when I watched them over throughout. Not when I watched South Africa versus France. South Africa were unbelievable. They're agile. They were on the ball. They were strong. They were playing really good tactical rugby, and there was tries galore. But last night there was no tries.
Right.
No tries.
Well, there was in the end. South Africa did get one, didn't they? But again, late on, 68th minute or so.
Yeah, sorry, yes, they did.
Yeah, but the thing is, and what England should have capitalised on very early, they sucked South Africa into a kicking game, and I don't know how much it was. It was a wet game. It was wet. It was raining. So they sucked South Africa into a kicking game. They didn't handle it very well. I thought Freddie Stewart at fullback was fantastic for England at getting under those high balls, and there's a few sort of points to come from this. I thought the referee, who was the same referee last week when South Africa beat France with the charge down to the kick, and people think it was unfair and things. It was the same ref, Ben O'Keefe, and he didn't have a good game again. I think early first half, I think there was 2 or 3 times where South Africa got over the ball, made some what should have been successful turnovers, but got penalised for it. That, you know, they were England, I thought, holding on in the rucks and things like that, and we're going unpenalised. And you know, I think Johnny May, didn't stay on side at any one of Farrell's kicks. I think it was offside an awful lot, but again didn't get pulled up. And ultimately, I think England should have been bringing on George Ford at 10 quite early when they had the lead, because his game management's better than Farrell. Farrell loses his head a little bit. They brought Sinclair into the scrum, and the first 4 scrums, he got penalties given against him. You know, he very, very quickly probably lost that game for England. But I don't know. I just think there's a couple of poor choices for England.
Yeah,
where they could have done more quicker.
Yes, looking forward to next week's final.
Yeah, I mean, New Zealand all over Argentina as expected, 44-6. So Friday night, 3rd place playoff, England Argentina, a repeat of the first game of their group.
Yep.
And then New Zealand South Africa next weekend for the final. Cricket as well, England South Africa.
Repeat. But
yeah,
England absolutely trounced on this occasion by 229 runs.
That's one of the biggest defeats they'll have had for many, many years.
Yeah. England sit second from bottom now after winning only 1 out of the last 4 games that they've played.
Yeah, they've got to win their last 5 to stand any chance.
It's a big ask. It's a big ask considering that they're only on 2 points. I think the leaders are on 10, so they've got a fair amount of work to do, and they've got to, like you say, they've got to win the next 5, and that's coming off the back of a significant defeat like this. The morale won't be great.
No, they're in for. I think they're in for a long one. Formula One. There's been a Grand Prix.
There has not yet, technically.
There hasn't been a race yet. There hasn't been the race yet. But...
Yes. We're in Austin, in Texas, which is great for Liberty Media, who own Formula One, but not for people in the UK that don't want to stop up and watch it at 11 p.m. at night. However, there was qualifying on Friday, relatively exciting qualifying. With, again, Verstappen finishing 6th position. I think, if I remember rightly, because I completely mislaid my notes / didn't make any. I think he finished pole, but then he had a lap time deleted.
Correct. Yeah.
19, and then since then, because the FIA are in bed with Jos Verstappen, they've now given more line. They've actually painted extra white line on the track on the outside of turn 19, which I find absolutely hilarious.
Have they?
They have done that. So the second to last corner, which is the fast left-hander before they turn onto the main straight, they've widened the track. They've just gone along and they've painted extra white line on the right-hand side, on the outside of the corner, to give drivers a bit of extra leeway. Obviously,
surely you should just not have track limits on that corner then. Like, surely.
Arguably, you could take that corner super wide and the argument is it's the same for all drivers, and the argument is Max should have been penalised. Well, Max was penalised because he had track time deleted, and he starts on 6th position today. But arguably, that shouldn't be widened just because Max had an issue, and I don't think that's directly the issue. But
but we've seen it in Austria where something like there was 11 or 1,300 incidents where they'd gone over with track limits, and there was only like a possible 1,550. And when that sort of thing's happening, surely then there's an issue with the track limits. Whereas there isn't that many happening, so therefore it is a driver error, not a track issue.
I'll tell you something else that the race steward, the chief race steward, has warned about today. Well, sorry, this weekend. I can't remember which race it started. It was like mid-season before the break. They introduced a minimum lap time, like a minimum delta for all qualifying laps. So if the lap time is 1:25, you've got to go around in a minimum of 2 minutes 10, and that the reason for that is so that we don't get
concertina
to the line, all concertinaed up, and it's also for safety, and also for people that are on flying laps that want different strategies and da. They have not up to now been enforcing that. However, the race director said this weekend that he would, and on Friday, the list of drivers that were under investigation for a breach of that rule was shorter with the people that weren't under investigation than it were, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Everybody, pretty much, other than a small handful of drivers, was going slower than the Delta, but nothing has come of it. And this brings me back full circle to your comment. What is the point in a rule if we're not going to enforce it? 1,300 track limit infringements, and if we have a problem on turn 19, we're just going to widen the corner.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me.
No. But Charles Leclerc starting on pole for this week's Austin, Texas Grand Prix at Circuit de Americas. Norris in second, Hamilton in third, Sainz in fourth, Russell in fifth, and Verstappen in sixth. There has actually been a sprint race as well. It's sprint weekend, which I do genuinely question when I found out it was a sprint weekend at Austin, which is quite a wide open, long.
It's not the place I thought they'd have it.
It's not, and it was boring.
I mean, there's just too. There's not enough chances of overtaking. It's not a condensed race. It's quite a wide track. It's very. You need him in exciting places, and I just don't think this is. Tomorrow's about strategy. Max will have the downforce for a few of these corners. He'll probably win the race tonight, but I just can't see.
It wasn't exciting.
Yeah, and I can't see the race being any different today.
No. The only benefit to the sprint yesterday was they only had one free practice session. It was in the absolute blaring sunshine on Friday. So I think yesterday would have given the teams really good data, including McLaren, who were. Piastri really struggled, but Lando didn't do too badly. But both drivers were braking extremely late into the corners and gaining such a massive amount of time, which will help them in the Grand Prix today if they can set the cars up to perform in the race. But it will be cooler. It will be later on in the day, and it will be cooler, like a kind of not like a sunset race. I think it's like a dusk going into dusk race.
Yeah, it's 8 p.m. our time, which will be. 4 o'clock in the afternoon their time.
Yeah, cooling down as Texas standards go.
Yeah. So no, it'll not. The season's over anyway, so it's a bit of a. I think
I don't know. There's plenty to fight for. Kind of
lower down
constructors and Hamilton is catching Checo at a rate of knots. Checo needs to pull something out in the back end in the last few races, as do Aston Martin, who have had a terrible weekend so far. Both cars will today start from the pit lane, and then you've got McLaren starting second and 10th.
Big points to be gained. Big points to be gained.
Very exciting.
This weekend also saw two-time major winner Colin Morikawa win in Japan. That's his first win on the PGA Tour for 2 years. So a player that, watching the Netflix documentary Full Swing, they followed him quite closely because at the time he was winning majors. He was, a big prospect for LIV and things like that. A big name player, and not picked up a tour win for 2 years. He's managed to break that little cycle this weekend, which is a solid player. So I think he'll win a few more majors. So it's always good to see players winning. Next week, there'll be plenty of football. We'll have the final of the rugby, and there'll be a bit more. Hopefully, England have done a little bit more around for the Cricket World Cup, because I think defending champions to go out early would be quite embarrassing.
It would. They've got a big mountain to climb, and we'll all be watching. However, I can't see it.
No, I can't.
Are we going to end the podcast on a downer?
Yeah, let's. See you next week.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Spencer, I'm going to go. And that's all we've got time for on today's episode. You can reach us on Instagram and Twitter at SportsCastPod UK. We look forward to seeing you there, and join us again next week.